Welcome to EPG Pathshala. My name is Purendra Prasad. I am a professor in the Department of Sociology, University of Hyderabad. Today I will be talking about individual pain and social suffering. This is module 4 in the Sociology of Health course. The objectives of the course are: 1. To make a distinction between individual pain and social suffering. Second, how pain defies both biomedical and scientific parameters, and therefore it needs to be located within the social context. Third, to explain the language of pain, which has more to do with the social world. The moment we talk about pain, we only remember about individuals going through pain. Is pain a private expression? No. Pain actually is a public kind of an expression. Why do we say that? Because pain defies all the biological and scientific kind of parameters. It is present in both body and life. Pain actually cannot be measured by any kind of pain meters. If there is pain in one part of the body or one organ, at next moment it actually travels to other part of the body. So, it is not possible to quantitatively measure and assess the pain. We are talking about this dimension of pain because biomedical explanation actually expects all individuals to articulate pain in a similar manner. Lay people cannot express pain in one particular way. They may mean certain term, but the intensity of pain that they are going through actually is something that they may not be able to articulate in the language that is appropriate in each context. What does that mean? If somebody uses the term called kamjor, what is called as weakness, which they are not simply talking about weakness, fragility, delicate. No, they are also talking about certain kind of a loss of their face in a particular community, or it is about a lot of social kind of status and other things. When it gets a beating in the community, then they also express the term kamjor. So, each of these terms actually have different meaning. However, the biomedical science expects each individual to articulate in a similar language. Okay. So, this is where I think a lot of sociologists, Arthur Kleinman, Byron Good, Susan Sontag and Judy Puig, several of these social scientists actually conducted studies in different contexts and tried to explain the relationship between the individual pain and that of the social context. For example, I think Byron Good, who explains the significance of language of pain, saying that it is a set of words, symptoms, feelings and behavior that runs across the members of a society. What he calls it in terms of semantic illness network. So, he says that these symptoms actually that are manifested may not really be the only way to understand the pain or suffering that one is going through. So, how do we actually look at Byron Good actually demonstrates the linkage between individual pain and that of the language that is articulated in different social contexts by taking up a research study in Iran. He finds that a lot of Iranian women expressed when they consult a doctor that they are going through heart distress. What does heart distress mean? They are expressing lot of their feelings about sadness, about their poverty, about their problems in their menstrual cycle, about not having children, about use of contraceptives, and several set of their problems actually are linked to what is called as heart distress. In fact, he demonstrates, he gives two case studies to explain this heart distress. One, he says, one of these Muslim women who actually lives in a very poverty stricken kind of a locality, who has very little exposure to the outside world, was advised, this woman was advised by the neighbors to use contraceptives. Once she starts using contraceptives, she also actually has suspicion that it may actually be discovered by her mother-in-law and other husband and others, which she is doing it clandestinely. So, with that suspicion, she keeps on screaming at her mother-in-law time and again, where she actually is taken to a clinic, and when she was asked what her problem is, she says that she is going through heart distress. So, this is actually to do with the social taboos, the relation between mother-in-law and the daughter-in-law, the poverty related kind of a problems within the household, lot of things are linked to heart distress. Similarly, he demonstrates another case study where both husband and wife knew that husband actually is addicted to opium, but each one is not actually trying to accept the reality. So, how this kind of a non-acceptance among the family leads to a kind of medicalizing it. When they go to a doctor, they keep on articulating it is about the heart distress. So, through these two case studies, Byron Good says that the sickness, the kind of semantic illness network is something that we need to understand in terms of what is the relationship between the words, the symptoms, the kind of social situations that they are in, what kind of feelings that they are going through, all these are interlinked. And therefore, it is important to understand the individual pain within a particular social context. Similarly, Krauss Inga Britt, one of the author who did a study on Punjabi women in UK, actually talks about a problem called sinking heart. Lot of these Punjabi migrants in UK who have actually settled down for several decades without much social kind of interaction, and who have been missing their homes back in India, they actually undergo a lot of problems in their day to day social life because of isolation and segregation. Their husbands actually are working and they stay at home and not able to comply with lot of their religious and other social obligations which they have been socialized in Punjab. So, these actually feelings are something that they make them depressed, and whenever they are their husbands actually take them to the doctors, they express saying that they are going through what is called as sinking heart. Here sinking heart is linked to again a particular kind of social context in which migrants are negotiating their social life. So, in that sense, there are a lot of metaphors, similes, analogies which are used to express the pain and suffering. Susan Sontag, in her study, in her book Illness as a Metaphor, talks about how they use metaphors to express their set of illness experiences. Okay. Susan says that how tuberculosis, for instance, which was actually at one point of time in the history was treated as if it was a disease of the elite and royal families, but later on how TB became a disease of the slum people and the lower class people. Okay. So, the kind of stigma that gets attached to certain diseases is something that makes people not articulate that they are affected with TB, but something else. So, they never mention the word TB. And she also talks about how HIV AIDS, for instance, is another example where the patient who is going through HIV AIDS tries to hide from their own family members, because the fact that if he reveals, then he or she would be isolated from their own family and their own kind of community. So, given some of these kind of social context, the way they articulate their pain, their suffering, okay, in a particular kind of medical terms or in terms which are hiding rather than revealing. Okay. So, these are the contexts in which sociologists have been emphasizing, saying that one needs to understand how pain or suffering actually is articulated in the real society. Looking at the debates that are going on in terms of how the concept pain or illness actually does not capture everything, Kleinman, Veena Das and several others actually have come up with a term called social suffering. What does social suffering mean? It means that people actually undergoing a lot of kind of pain or suffering because of lot of externalities. It could be in terms of famine, it could be in terms of war situation, it could be in terms of communal riot, it could be in terms of certain distress that is going on in a particular kind of community because of crop loss. So, a larger social context in which individuals actually undergo trauma, stress, strain. How do we capture this larger social kind of phenomena, and for which I think Kleinman and others use the term social suffering. Okay. So, I think the way individual pain and social suffering actually are to be seen in a particular context. Okay. While in a particular kind of a communal kind of a riots where their parents actually die or their near ones die, how do other members of the family actually articulate their pain, which does not have a kind of a language. Okay. So, in a medical context, what happens is all these symptoms, all these manifestations are treated simply as weakness or simply as certain kind of disorder, and then they are treated with tonics and tranquilizers and vitamins and other set of things, because when you examine medically, they do not actually have any abnormality in their physical kind of body. So, abnormality not in terms of the body, physical body, but also the social body, which impinges the individuals. So, in order to explain pain more comprehensively, the term social suffering is used in health literature. Social suffering actually brings an assemblage of feelings and symptoms together, uh, social suffering actually results from what political, economic and institutional power does to people, and how reciprocally these forms of power actually impinge on the individuals and their own kind of suffering. Social suffering actually is something that explains the broader social contours in which individuals undergo trauma, etc. So, to simply say that either it should be this or that particular disease, I think is not going to actually help. Okay. Why is it that people actually undergoing certain kind of trauma situations in a particular context, okay, cannot even articulate any language? They need a medium, okay, and that medium may not be available, and therefore the social suffering provides that kind of a both the medical and non-medical kind of a platform for people to articulate what one is going through. Okay. Similarly, there is another term that is used to explain the individual pain called misfortune. Okay. It could be failure of health, it could be in terms of failure of crop, failure of gender, meaning that women who are not able to conceive, or they have serious reproductive problems, miscarriages, etc. So, it could be failure of gender, it could be failure of prosperity. A lot of these things are linked broadly to the social and political context. It cannot be actually reduced to that of XYZ kind of physical symptoms or symptomatology, and this is where sociologists actually were trying to explain that individual pain and social suffering are two kind of axes through which pain can be understood more comprehensively. Is there one way of actually approving a particular explanation? For instance, people actually going through certain kind of pain resort to religious, spiritual, cultural and other kind of forums through which they articulate more effectively than in a medical kind of a context where they become very restricted in terms of articulating what they are going through. So, it is not about the problem of the individual, but problem of the context in which we are able to actually make people speak. Okay. So, the point I am trying to indicate is that religion helps people to explain, or religion sometimes actually provides the direction in terms of how a person going through intense pain or suffering should actually resort to. There are cultural symbols, there are some kind of institutional symbols which is not in terms of government, but non-governmental organizations which actually provide these platforms. Okay. So, there are a range of these platforms which actually provide the basis for most of these sufferers to articulate their pain. Okay. So, essentially we are trying to look at how a biomedical explanation of pain actually is very restrictive, very limited. It actually measures only physiological symptoms. It does not actually include the individual and the social context in which sufferers actually go through a range of processes. In that sense, okay, whether we are talking about Byron Good, who looked at heart distress, whether we are talking about Cross Ingabrett, who talked about sinking heart, or when we talk about Susan Sontag, who was talking about the metaphors, which become very, very important kind of core symbols for people to articulate in different contexts. What they are trying to explain is that there is a language of pain, and this language may not necessarily be only verbal. There is a lot of non-verbal communication. When a person is going through a lot of pain, what comes out is in terms of screaming and shriek and shouting. How do you translate this kind of non-verbal communication to that of XYZ symptoms that one needs to actually reduce it to a particular disease? It becomes very difficult. Okay. There may be a person who is sitting next to you, but you may not actually experience what is the intense pain that other person is going through unless that person chooses to reveal it to you what he or she is going through. Even then, verbal communication becomes important, language becomes very important. Here, if there is a kind of a conducive environment where they can actually articulate in a particular language which is understandable, then it is fine. Some of these expressions cannot even be explained through verbal. People say that I feel pain as if somebody is hitting on my head with a hammer. That is an expression, and beyond that they do not know how to actually articulate. Okay. So, it is important that the conditions of poverty, conditions of the communal kind of violence, the conditions of different social kind of rift that is going on in different societies, all of it actually constitutes a social world. And therefore, to attribute agency only to language, okay, where language probably sometimes is very, very restrictive. To just give you an example, there are lot of situations and symptoms that one cannot express in English. How do you express, for instance, body and mind actually as together? There is no term in English. While you have terms in French, you have terms in Chinese, you have terms in Indian. So, Ayurveda or Chinese medicine has always talked about body and mind as together. Okay. But you do not have any kind of term that actually provides you a comprehensive meaning within the biomedical kind of framework. So, this is where this particular module actually provides us the basis for us to actually understand pain a lot more comprehensively and in a social kind of a context, rather than reduce it to certain individualized kind of pain. Okay. A lot of collective kind of suffering can need to be captured, and that actually provides the basis for us to understand why different classes, different groups of people are reluctant to approach. Even when they approach, they are not able to articulate in a language that is appropriate in a biomedical context, and therefore lot of people actually go through pain and suffering which is outside the medical domain. And this is where sociologists have been trying to broaden the conceptual kind of framework, so that individual and social suffering can be explained more systematically.